This is Calabooks with Think Future. I think the internet is the most amazing thing. So when we first launched the internet, I thought to myself, this is it. This is the solution to everything. And you know why I thought this was the solution to everything? I thought this was the solution to everything because it was all about interconnectedness. The ability to take every human being on the planet and connect them with every other human being on the planet. Because I think a lot of the problems that we have here on this planet is that human A and human B don't get to communicate with each other, no matter where they are. Human A in the United States, human B in Iran, human A in Japan, human B in Israel, human B in Singapore, human A in Greece. These humans and these humans, they've never had the ability to communicate directly with each other. Ever. In their entire lifespans, generations after generations after generations have never been able to communicate directly to each other until now. Because if you think about it, what used to happen, right? You had various tribes communicating to each other with drums. You had tribes communicating to each other with letters sent on horseback. You had tribes communicating with each other through the mail. You had people communicating with each other over telegraph wires. You had people communicating to each other through telephone lines. You had people communicating to each other over radio. You had people communicating to each other over TV. But in all those situations, you had a very small set of individuals being able to communicate to another very small set of individuals. And then when you had radio and TV, you had a very small set of individuals being able to communicate to a very large set of individuals. But that communication was one way. You had a small group communicating to a big group. Movies, radio, TV, small group communicating to a big group, because it cost a lot of money for that small group to communicate to this big group. But then when the internet arrived, when the internet became a business, when the internet arrived on the scene and more people started getting onto it, I thought to myself, here we are, this is it. We have finally invented a communications method where any human on the planet can connect to any human on the planet. I thought, this is the best. This is amazing. This is going to solve all of our problems, because once we have one-to-one communication with every human being on the planet, then all of these miscommunications, all of these issues with governments, all of these issues with the media, all these issues with these warped realities that some people live in because they don't have access to every other human being on the planet. So they can just ask them, what are things like in Iran? What are things like in Japan? What are things like in Singapore? What are things like in Malaysia? What are things like in Greece? What are things like in Europe? What are things like in Russia? Because all of these individual people, human beings, would be able to connect to each other, and then we would realize that we are very similar to all other human beings on the planet. We all kind of want the same things. It doesn't matter whether we live in this country or that country, whether we have this religion or that religion, whether we have this political system or that political system, we all kind of want the same things. And once we started all communicating with each other directly, then we'd all realize that we all want the same things. And a lot of the warring, a lot of the economic issues, a lot of these things would just fall by the wayside, because finally we have any person communicating with any other person. But what happens? What happens? We ruin it. Why do we ruin it? Because governments and major corporates and big tech get in the middle, and we create middlemen that filter the communications between human A and human B. We have governments that have firewalls between human A and human B. We have tech companies that have filter bubbles so they can keep more profits for themselves. They say, well, if I have somebody who's really, really outraged about this, I can get him to look at this thing more often, and I can get his eyeballs in here. And they break down the communication between human A, and every human B. These middlemen get in between every human A and every human B, and they cause all sorts of problems. I read a while back that people experience the internet through 5 sites. 5 sites, even though there's billions of web pages, billions of blogs, billions of podcasts, billions of video blogs. People interact through the internet through those 5 sites. And those 5 sites have full control over whether human A can actually talk to human B, whether human A's video will be displayed to human B, whether human A's blog will be seen by human B. These systems in between have created these manufactured realities and eliminated the ability for human A to talk to human B. Now, if everybody was on Telegram or some other service which is more peer-to-peer, then maybe some of that will go away. When we can start connecting every human being to every other human being, and helping every human being to connect to every other human being, and helping every voice be heard, and not just suppressed because it's inconvenient to the middlemen in between, then maybe we'll return back to the original promise of the internet, which, like I said, if you ask me, has the ability to eliminate many of the ills that humankind has. Many of the ills can just be eliminated if we just allowed the free interconnection between human A anywhere in the world to human B anywhere in the world. Now tell me that is not a noble cause to look out for.